Right, so today we're at the Diggers Great Lever Food Hub in Bolton, and we're with Alan from Bolton Diggers, and Alan's going to discuss a few issues with us, so fire away, Al.
Good afternoon. In the aftermath of the English Civil War, there was a great deal of hardship. So in 1649, in response, a network of activists called the Diggers began to occupy land and set up food growing communities around the country. The leader was called Gerard Winstanley, and he was born in Wigan. Now he believed that the hardship of the ordinary English people could be traced right back before his time to the point at which land began to be sold for profit. He called this buying and selling process the nursery of cheaters, and he called it the law of the conqueror. He said that it allowed the basest of men to rule, men who could take other men's labours to live at ease, but not to work for themselves. Now, at the moment it's election time. There's a lot of politicians knocking on people's doors asking for their votes. But one choice you will never see offered to you is this. The choice between having the land as a commodity, something which is bought and sold for profit, or enjoying the land as a commons, something which is for everybody's benefit. You're not allowed that choice because that would change everything in the favour of the working class and the poor. So it will never be allowed by our lords and masters. Now you might say, what's all this got to do with the pressing issues that we all face in modern society today? How are the words of an English peasant rebel from 500 years ago relevant to our lives today in 2023? I'm going to give you several examples that will disabuse you of that notion. One is to think about is the continuous selling off of land by local councils, lands which could be used for the benefit of all as a communal resource, which are just sold off to people's friends for a profit. Another one is if we consider our town centres with lots of boarded up shops. The reason for this is absentee landlords and the domination of wealthy chains not allowing ordinary people to get a look in or have a say on what happens in our town centres. Another example is homelessness, including rough sleeping, and the fact that young people can't get a place to live. It's all about profiteering on land. The high cost of residential property is linked to the land it's built upon. Another example is the fact that working class people are constantly being driven out of city centres into the peripheries, whilst their neighbourhoods are gentrified for the wealthy. A good example of this is Manchester city centre, where communal spaces such as pubs, libraries, community centres, parks, playing fields are all closed down because more profit can be made from that land for the already wealthy. And what underlines the current soaring cost of living? Why are food and fuel prices going through the roof? It's because global corporations and states are buying up agricultural land for profit and destroying the livelihoods of small producers. This is a global issue, not just an English or British issue. But Winstanley was right. The buying and selling of land has shaped our modern world and continues to do so. Issues of land use and control lie beneath all our basic human needs and the threat posed to them, whether that's food, shelter, warmth, security, economy, and the result is poverty, precariousness and poor mental and physical well-being of the least well-off, lives shortened and blighted by preventable disease. But, just as the original diggers realised, we can all take collective action to make a difference. For example, recently in Devon, thousands took to the moors to reclaim access to these spaces denied by a greedy aristocratic landlord. And today, all over the country, there is a new movement afoot where people are starting to grow their own food in places which have also become, like on our Diggers Hub today, places of healing. Now, when we say commons, it's simply a way of talking about the assets and resources that we all share and which are there for the benefit of all and not for the profit of a few. This means commons in land, but also today it means other commons, social commons, And the greatest of these, of course, is the National Health Service. In politics, too much energy gets expended today on what could have been, and not enough energy into building the alternative on the firm basis of the commons. Taking grassroots action is the real way to challenge this filthy system of inequality. Gerard Winstanley realised it 500 years ago, that when the ordinary English people lost access to the land, this is what they really lost. They lost the original social welfare safety net. For the people, work and welfare autonomy was replaced by work and welfare dependency. Work and welfare was no longer the rightful inheritance of all people, but it had become something which we recognise today. It's something which has to be begged for off small-minded bureaucrats. What was also lost when we lost the land was fundamentally we lost our dignity. The fight for a better society is a fight for our collective dignity, and that is not something to be voted for, but to be collectively reclaimed through mass action. Gerard Winstanley concluded that in a future free commonwealth there shall be no buying and selling, neither shall anyone hire his brother to work for him. These were his words, and he called this the ancientest law of righteousness to mankind in the use of the earth, and which is the very height of earthly freedoms.
Well, thanks very much for that, Al, and a lot to think about there. And we'll see you all soon. Bye.